Who's coming? Sufyan. طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. حياكم الله جميعا and welcome to this new session. Today inshallah ta'ala we'll cover a new topic. We have spoken previously about the proofs of Allah's existence. Today inshallah ta'ala we'll shift to another important topic, which is the issue of prophecy or prophethood. Prophethood. The issue of prophethood and how to prove prophethood. Okay, so this is another important issue. And certainly when it comes to this matter, maybe like Zuhaib mentioned in the other class, how can we prove to people the issue of prophethood, right? And you will find people who are really throwing doubts about how can we prove that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a true prophet from Allah Azza wa Jal. So today we'll go in details, understanding the principles in which this issue is founded on, and later on we'll go into detailed proofs that substantiate this matter, inshallah. So the issue of nubuwwah, it's not a matter which we resort to emotions to prove, or in a matter away from logic and common sense to prove to people. Rather, we have very well established logical proofs to substantiate that Muhammad is true prophet from Allah Azza wa Jal, and that the idea of prophethood is a necessity. So whenever we go and speak to people who are questioning this matter, we say we have enough logical evidences that it is a necessity that we have a prophet, and that the concept of prophethood is a must in order for mankind to prosper and live in a manner which will bring peace to them. So whenever we confront someone, we need to, first of all, before speaking about the proofs of prophethood, to know whom we are talking to. If the person whom we are talking to is an atheist, then it does not make sense to talk to him about the proofs of prophethood when he denies Allah's existence in the first place, or to speak about him in issues which is related to the Sharia, this hukm, this ruling and that ruling, when he in the first place does not believe in Allah and his existence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to move him back one step to the foundation that Allah exists, and present to him enough evidences, like we have covered in previous classes, that Allah is there, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that He is the cause for this entire universe, and look to the multitude of evidences which substantiate His existence, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then from there we may go and speak about, once he accepts that Allah exists, then the next step is to go and speak to him about that He had sent Prophet through time to guide us and teach us what exactly He wants from us. There might be a case where the one whom we are talking to admits that Allah exists, okay, but he claims that Allah had created us and abandoned us. He left us for ourselves without any guidance whatsoever. Here, this type of people, we need to present to them that no, it is a must that we believe in the prophets, and it is a necessity that mankind need to have prophets in order to regulate their relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and amongst themselves. So from there we need to know whom we are talking to and take the next initiative in presenting to them the proofs relevant to the topic that we are talking to. When it comes to the issue of the prophethood, first of all, we must understand that it is based on principles. So we need to understand the principles of substantiating prophethood. So like we've spoken in the proofs of Allah's existence about general principles, right? In substantiating Allah's existence. Similarly, when it comes to the issue of prophethood, we have usul, principles that we must have or we use in order to substantiate the matter of prophethood. The first issue that we need to raise here is that the nubuwwah, prophethood, is possible. So, imkan and nubuwwah, that prophethood is possible. Since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all able. I mean, we are speaking now to a person who believes in Allah's existence, right? So we say Allah is the all able subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it possible to you that Allah may send a prophet to us or not? If he says it's not possible, then we take him back to his claim that Allah exists and that Allah is the all able and Allah is the cause for everything. Then how is it possible that it is impossible for Allah to do such a thing? Allah is the all able, and it is possible that He may send prophets through time to guide mankind in general. So it's not something which is against logic to accept prophethood. Logically speaking, it is possible and it is acceptable, right? So when we say that it is possible that He sends prophets through time, we say it is possible. And this contention does not stand against common sense or logic. So if this is the case, then that person must admit this first issue. You believe in Allah's existence. Allah is the all-able, the all-wise. It is possible that subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He may send prophets, and Him sending prophets is not something which stands against logic or common sense. So this is the idea here in the first principle here. The second issue, that the importance the importance and necessity of prophethood. Why prophethood is important and necessary? Okay, so it is important, necessary meaning that we need it. We need to have a prophet throughout time. So the issue of prophethood is important for our life to be normal and to have a life which is possible for all mankind to share and cherish at the same time, where we get the guidance through prophethood and the revelation to guide us throughout our life. So it is something that we need. It is important and crucial to our existence. It is necessary for our existence. We, mankind, are not similar to the other creation from the animals, for instance. We are distinguished from the animals. That's why we need to regulate our lives in a manner that will make us enjoy this life and live normally in this life. So that's why we need guidance, we need prophethood, and we need a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why it is necessary for our life. So if this is the case, then we see that scholars went into presenting multitude of evidences why prophethood is important, why is it necessary. So we'll go through some of those evidences used to support this claim. The first one is that human in nature must be submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, must worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the exalted. And this kind of submission may go through some flaws or shortcomings. Okay? So this is the nature of human beings, right? They forget, they fall into a state of heedlessness, where they get carried away by the demands of this dunya and so on, and tend to neglect and forget their duties toward the Creator, whom they accept that they should submit to Him and worship Him alone, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the mean in which those people may be corrected in their path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and way of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the only way, which is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other than that, if they were left to their own, certainly we have seen people going to cases where they introduced false ideas and wrong way of beliefs and wrong behaviors toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and toward themselves. So to remind people of their submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is a must. Once they admit that He is the Khaliq, the Creator, and they must submit to Him and worship Him, they need guidance on this matter, right? So this is why prophethood is a necessity, and it is important for our existence. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all perfect, the all glorified subhanahu wa ta'ala. And human beings in nature, they yearn to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who Allah is and how great He is. And if they were left to their own to decide Allah's attributes or use common sense or logic alone to know how great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, they may not reach the deserving attributes that Allah has subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the only mean for us to know how great Allah is, we certainly may use our common sense to be guided to a level of Allah's attributes, because there are attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where the mind can guide us to, like al-ilm, al-qudra, knowledge, ability, hikmah, adl, all those matters, greatness, may be perceived through logic and common sense. But there are attributes which shows the greatness and perfection of Allah's attributes, and this is by Allah conveying that information to us. So to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is something that we yearn to acquire, right? What is the best way to know who Allah is, like He deserves to be known? It's only revelation. It's through wahy. So this second issue talks about Allah's perfection, Allah's completeness, and the only way to know Allah better is through revelation. Our limited knowledge will not lead us to what Allah deserves at the end in the most perfect manner, right? That's why we still need revelation to tell us how great Allah is subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not possible to limit knowing Allah to our intellect. Rather, we are in need for revelation to know Allah better subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third proof or matter in which it is important and necessary to have a prophet, and that is we in nature must connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And of course we cannot invent our own ways to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, the only best way to connect in the most accepted manner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through Him. And He tells us how exactly we can connect with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the relation between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is among the greatest relations, right? So look how we ourselves, whenever we want to connect with each other, and we cherish this relation and so on, we try to preserve it and maintain it in the best of manner possible, right? And Allah, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, Allah is the all deserving of the best of our manners and relation when it comes to connecting with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here, what is the mean for us to know the best ways in which we connect with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's through revelation. Through revelation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the mean to decide how we worship Him, how we know Him, and how we connect with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in the manner that He deserves, exalted He is. So don't we see that in nature? When people are left for themselves to decide how to establish a relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they tend to go and put mediators and intercessors and maybe worshipping non-living things and maybe worshipping even animals, worshipping the planets, worshipping the jinn, worshipping even cows, like in the case of India and some other places, worshipping idols. So whenever they are left to their own, they tend to go astray. That's why they need revelation to bring them back to the correct path. So when we see an entire nation worshipping rats, and they come to a conclusion or even by consensus that this is the right way to worship the Creator. So it is something which is scary to see people, coming together and coming to an agreement when there are people with great level of reasoning and intellect coming to a conclusion that this is our deity, which is a rat. So where is the common sense here? So this tells you that people can easily be misguided if there was no revelation. That's why it is important and necessary that we have revelation around us to always correct our path toward Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to make us always re-evaluate our sets of beliefs and what we are upon. So humankind are in the greatest level of need for revelation to correct their relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other issue is that we in nature behave in a specific manner. We are different from all creatures as human beings. And we have relations. We cannot live on our own. We need communities in which we strive in and survive and live in peace and harmony. So who decides what's right and what's wrong in details? We human beings can decide to an extent that this is right, this is wrong. But to go into deep details about matters of righteousness and evil, in many cases, we need the revelation to tell us that this is right and this is wrong. Especially when we see mankind are going in masses astray, and that they come to an agreement that this is the way in which we should follow, and you see clearly that their way is misleading and not among the righteousness that they should be upon. We here see that these people need revelation to correct their path in this life. So when it comes to the issue of our relation with each other, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need intervention from revelation to maintain that we are behaving in this life in a correct manner. So we ourselves, yes, we may understand that this is beneficial for me. This type of drink is not beneficial for me. This type of food is good for me. That type of food is not good for me. Through experiment maybe and so on. But there are cases where people may do something which can be harmful to them, and they don't see it, and they did not recognize it, or sometimes they may claim doing it brings benefit to them, like in the case for instance in the West, allowing prostitution to take place, allowing alcohol to be consumed, allowing smoking to be practiced. They say it makes money. ويسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. So they tell you that the al-khamr, there is some goodness in it, but they go to an extreme and they say there is great goodness in it, there is great benefit in it. It brings so much wealth to them. That's why they allow it to be consumed and to be sold in liquor stores and open places. Although they put some limitations for the age limits, but still they allow it to happen, to be practiced. Although Allah in Revelation speaks clearly that this is harmful to them. I mean, as a whole, as a practice in a community, it is harmful. So some detailed issues, yes, some issues in general may be known to mankind that this is good, this is bad. If we are going, I mean, if the issue of good and bad, even it is known to some even animals. The animal can distinguish between what's fine to eat and what's not fine to eat. Animals can even distinguish between this, right? Also, as human beings also have that level of knowledge, but there are detailed matters in which we need revelation to guide us and to save us. And like we said, the issue of prostitution, when they allow it to happen in the West, the issue of boyfriend-girlfriend relation, not necessarily opening a places to practice prostitution, but the concept of having a boyfriend-girlfriend, and it became a matter of not even denial in the West, claiming that this is fine, it brings goodness to our life. And we see the Sharia is telling us, no, this is harmful in the long run. Yes, you may see it, it's been of benefit for right now. You enjoy yourself and she enjoys herself and you're having fun and joy. But in the long run, what is the outcome of this relation? It's pure evil. You have children coming to existence having no legitimate father or mother. And in many cases, you see the boyfriend, once that woman has a baby, he leaves her and he goes and chases another woman. And she's stuck with that child. And in some cases, and many cases, they are legitimizing abortion. Once that happens, they go to an extreme and kill a life. So look how this issue, in which they themselves accepted and made it a law practiced in their country, claiming that this is fine, it brings goodness to them. In reality, it's not. That's why we need the revelation to correct those wrong behaviors that we see being practiced in those communities. So, like Ibn Taymiyyah is saying, that the prophethood is a necessity to correct the life of the human being in this life and the hereafter. There is a necessity in this life and in the hereafter. So we need it in both cases. It's not just a matter of we do this because it's good for us fil akhirah, in the hereafter. No, it is good in the first place here in our existence in this dunya, and we need it. And the fifth issue, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we see clearly that He has given great care to human beings. And He made him the master of this kawn, universe, existence. And He had bestowed His favor and almost caused many things to serve His existence, to serve our existence subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this matter, it necessitates that there is a goal, there is a ghaya, a hadaf, a target, a goal from this life. We were not created as a play or for no reason. We are separate from the animal kingdom, right? we human beings, and Allah had given us extra care, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see within ourselves that this life has a reason. Like I said, when we speak to an atheist and you ask him, and in fact, this is a question which is, we believe that it is perplexing him, that why am I here? Who brought me here? What does he want from me? Where am I going? These teleological questions are within every atheist, within every person who claims that Allah does not exist. He cannot answer those 4 questions. He needs revelation to answer those questions, for him to relax and feel better. Without that, those questions will always be perplexing to him, where he is in a state of not being relaxed, not feeling assured of his existence. I mean, practically speaking, if you tell this atheist, if you wake up one day and you find yourself in the air in an airplane, you were in your home sleeping, all of a sudden you find yourself on an airplane, seat belt is fastened, and you don't know where you're going. The first thing you'll be asking, why am I here? Who brought me here? Where am I going, right? This is just a flight. I mean, and you are upon a flight, and you know this is an airplane, and you know that it is possible that airplanes are around me, and it's not something abnormal to ride an airplane. But who brought me here in the first place? I was sleeping in my bed. Who brought me here? Where am I going? Why am I here? So what about this life and this existence? Who brought you here? Why are you here? Where are you going in this life? You see everything moving in one direction. What is after life? Am I ready for that moment? Subhanallah. These questions nobody can answer clearly but revelation. Why are we here? What does he want from us? Revelation clearly explains to us al-ghaya, the goal behind this existence, the purpose of life. So this 5th issue deals with the issue of the purpose for our existence. The only way in which we can understand fully, of course, we may have some level of knowledge if there was no revelation, but to understand fully, why are we here? Where are we going? What's waiting for us after we die and live this life? The only mean to know that is through revelation. Allah reveals to these prophets all that, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, like Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah is saying, the abd, the servant's need for revelation and prophethood is further more than we are in need for medicine. Further more than a sick person needing medicine. Right? So, why? Because medicine can cure you and lead you to die if you don't have it, for instance, and it's over, right? But the issue of Risala and revelation, it brings to you life on earth and life in the hereafter, right? So that's why it is important for us. It is important to us even more than the medicine to a sick person. So this is the second issue, why the prophethood is important and necessary. The third issue, like the first issue was imkan and nubuwah, the possibility of prophethood, right? The second was the importance and necessity of a nubuwah. The third is the possibility of proving prophecy and its ways. What are the ways to prove prophecy? Or prophethood. To prove prophethood. So the possibility of proving imkan al-istidlal. So it is possible to infer to prophethood, right? And what are the ways to reach this inference that prophethood is inevitable? So we need to put some like foundations, logical, in which we can use in order to convince the others that what are your tools and logical ways in which you convey to a person who you're talking to that prophethood is possible and it is inevitable and that we need it. طيب. So this issue, it deals with the perfection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from four means, from four ways, we can be guided to the issue of prophethood. That it is inevitable, it is necessary. First of all, from the mean of Allah's rahmah, Allah's mercy. Allah is the all merciful. So once we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that He is the all merciful, so from His rahmah to mankind, that He show them what He wants from them, right? Unlike if He subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give them any guidance and then later on hold them accountable for any misbehavior, this is against Allah's rahmah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't we see that وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, if a person or if a king on earth leading a nation and he is in authority, certainly he will care so much to convey to his people what he wants from them and how they should, behave and so on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَهُ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, the exalted He is way more than that human being who is so limited in his relation, in his mercy, in his attributes. Allah is the all perfect in His rahmah, the exalted He is, and He is the all merciful, the exalted He is. So therefore, His rahmah entails that He sends prophets to convey His message to mankind and to tell mankind what He wants from them. What is the outcome of their behavior? Once they behave well, they are rewarded. Once they misbehave, there is punishment awaiting for them in the akhirah. So this is what Allah's rahmah entails, that He is the all merciful. Therefore, He will not abandon us without guidance to make us live a better life on earth and even have a much better ending in the hereafter. The second issue is from the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah's wisdom. So Allah is the all-wise and He is the all-perfect when it comes to the attribute of wisdom. So this attribute for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entails that He sends prophets to guide mankind to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He sends prophets to convey His message, He will certainly send with them some signs or miracles that proves that they are truthful and that they are sent by Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what Allah's wisdom entails, that once He sends a prophet, He will certainly send him with signs that prove that he is a true prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will not neglect him from having those signs as a proof for his prophethood. And of course, we can see and tell that, again, giving as a parable here, if a person, when it comes to information and conveying information to the others, we see indicators that this person is truthful. And prophethood deals with information and informing others, right? So if a king sends someone to a nation or to people to convey his message to his people, certainly he will choose a truthful person where people trust in his transmission of information to them, right? So وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثْلُ الْأَعْلَى again. To Allah belongs the best of all examples. That Allah would certainly send prophets and send them with signs that prove their credibility and that they are truthful in their conveying Allah's revelation to mankind. The third issue also related to the issue of al-adl, Allah's justice subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like in the case of hikmah, it entails that Allah sends prophet in order for mankind to send prophets with signs in order for people to believe in that prophet and accept his message, because they come with signs that clearly indicates that that man is not a liar. That man, in what he's saying, has evidences, has proof, and he's credible. Therefore, we should accept his message. Also, Allah's adl entails the same thing. Allah's adl entails the same thing, that He subhanahu wa ta'ala will certainly send a prophet at the same time with evidences that that man is truthful. He is not lying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or throwing claims that he is a prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fourth issue is the issue of qudra, Allah's ability. Allah is the all able. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all able. This entails that He can support the prophets, again, with signs that proves that they are truthful and that they were sent by Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah's ability, like Allah's hikmah, Allah's adl, also Allah's ability entails the same thing, that Allah is the all able. Therefore, He will not, while being able, He will not neglect supporting the prophet with evidences and miracles and signs that they are true prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that they are truthful in their call to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the issue of how to use Allah's perfection as a proof for that we need prophet, and that prophethood is a necessity at the same time. طيب. The other issue, the ways in which we can be guided to prophethood. Like I said, the issue of prophethood, at the end, it is information delivered, right? So in nature, a prophet is someone who delivers information, but that information is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While we see in people, when they deliver information, people look into how credible those people in their deliverance of this information, right? So if this is the case with human beings, when they deliver information from other human beings, they check for their credibility and how authentic they are in conveying that information. So it is similarly the case with the prophet. When he comes, we check at the same time how truthful he is. So when we see that, of course, when someone comes and say, like Ibn Taymiyyah says, when someone comes and say that I am a prophet, he is either truthful or a wicked, lying impostor, right? When someone comes and say I am a prophet, he is either truthful or he is lying. There is no third option. So the truthful person, we see signs and indicators clearly. We can never confuse a liar to a truthful person. Always there are signs and indicators, especially when that person, you see him for decades and no lie were reported against him. And he is, in fact, he is telling you about prophecies that will happen in the future, and it takes place and happens. So no unhappening prophecy, no lie reported against him. Then what does that indicate? He is a truthful in his claim that he is a prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the all wise, the all sane people can never confuse between a truthful person and a liar. They can clearly and easily distinguish between the truthful person from the liar. So if someone says that Muhammad is lying, then show me one case where he lied in his claim as being a prophet. We'll get into that issue when we speak in details about the detailed proofs of his prophethood, inshallah ta'ala. But in general, people cannot, confuse a liar from the truthful person. We in nature can clearly, distinguish between a person who, when he claims that he is knowledgeable, and he is knowledgeable, and a lying person saying, I am knowledgeable, right? We, practically speaking, can distinguish between the two. We can, do some experiment between the two of them, and we can test them with some issues, and you'll see it clearly that that person is lying, right? If somebody comes to you and says, I am specialized in biology, I'm a biologist, I'm good in biology, you can easily test him. When someone comes to you and says, I know so much about so-and-so, you can easily test him and see whether he's truthful or not, right? So whomever comes and claims anything, whether he was truthful or not, you can easily expose him and see whether he's lying or he's truthful. And certainly, when it comes to the issue of nubuwwah, we see clear evidences that him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is a truthful man. There was no lie traced against him. Whatever prophecies he says and mentions that will take place in the future, it happened and took place, subhanAllah. And you would never see a liar daring to mention prophecies that will take place in his life and after his life, because he has no knowledge of the unseen, while the Prophet has knowledge of the unseen from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see it practically happening, prophecies taking place and happening, subhanAllah. So these are the ways in which we can, know and be guided to prophethood, to be used as a justification in argumentations. So when this is said, what if someone comes and says, like in the case of the fortune tellers, the case of the sorcerers, magicians, sometimes they claim that they have power, right? They have signs, they have miracles. How can we separate between a prophet and a sorcerer or a magician, right? The scholars mention 5 cases in which we can separate between a true prophet and a sahir, a magician. The first case is that it is all known that all prophets are truthful to all mankind, that prophets are known for their amana, truthfulness, their sadq, being trustworthy, their good manners in general, right? Unlike the case with the magicians and sorcerers. They are wicked people, known for their wickedness, lying, deceiving people, trying to collect money unjustly from people in general, right? So when it comes to makarim al-akhlaq, morals, we see the big difference between a prophet and a sorcerer, magician. So there is no way to confuse a magician for a prophet. Why? Because we know prophets are truthful when it comes to manner. Unlike magicians, we see practically how corrupt they are, how much deception they have, how much they lie in order to get money from people unjustly. Secondly, we see prophets are promoters of good morals and manners, right? Unlike the sorcerers and magicians, practically they are calling people to evil and to practice evil. So big difference between a prophet when he comes and he says, I am a prophet, or when a sahir, magician, comes and say, I am a prophet. Practically speaking, we see the sahir, like in the first case, lying, morally he is corrupt. Secondly, like in the case where he calls people to corruption, calls people to harm each other. So there is no way to confuse a prophet for a sahir or a sahir for a prophet. Thirdly, we see the prophets always praise each other. When a prophet comes, he praises the previous prophets. While in the case of magicians, they compete with each other in evil. And they, in many cases, they dispraise each other. And they try to expose each other. You'll never see the Sahara coming to an agreement or praising each other. Because why? It's an issue of competition in collecting wealth, right? So if there is another Sahir somewhere close to him, I will not tell people go to him or believe in him. Why? Because I'll be losing customers if I do that. And the issue of sihr and magic, it's all the idea behind it is to collect wealth from people unjustly. The fourth issue in which we can differentiate between the prophet and a magician is that prophethood cannot be acquired through knowledge. You cannot say, I'll go read so many books, the next day I'll be a prophet. It's not acquired through knowledge. It is a position given from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unlike a sihr, you go open books, you become a sahir. Right? So it's not an issue of kasb. You can acquire prophethood. Prophethood is position given to a specific human being by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unlike sihr, magic, magicians, sorcerers, they gain that position through reading books and seeking knowledge in sihr. The fifth issue is that the signs and miracles brought by the prophet, nobody can do whatsoever. So no human beings can do the miracle which is done by a prophet whatsoever. Like in the case of Musa, the entire sea was split. No magicians will be able to do such a thing. In fact, when Musa alayhi salam stood and in challenging the Sahara, the sorcerers, and he told them, إِمَّا أَن تَلْقُوا وَإِمَّا أَنْ أَكُونَ أَوَّلَ مَنْ أَلْقَى قَالَ بَلْ أَلْقُوا فَإِذَا حِبَالُهُمْ وَعَصِيُّهُمْ يُخَيَّلُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ سِحْرِهِمْ أَنَّهَا تَسْعَى. And فَأَوْجَسَ فِي نَفْسِهِ خِيفَةً Musa. Musa, when he saw that the sorcerers, they threw their canes and sticks and became snakes, he was scared in the first place. قُلْنَا لَا تَخَفْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْأَعْلَى ألق ما في يمينك تلقف ما صنعوا إنما صنعوا كيد ساحر ولا يفلح الساحر حيث أتى. When they saw this, Musa's cane swallowing all the snakes, this is something that no magician can do. That's why they fall into submission, prostration to Allah. آمنا بربي هارون وموسى. We believe in Harun and Musa's Rabb subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is that? Because this is an act that no human being can do. This is a miracle no man can do whatsoever. That's why a prophet, when he brings a miracle, it is a challenging matter to all mankind. Nobody will dare to copy him in that miracle. Unlike a sihr, you make a stick into snake, there are plenty of Sahara that can do the same thing. Whatever you do as a Sahar, plenty of Sahara that can do the same thing. But the case of miracle carried by a prophet, nobody can copy whatsoever. So those are 5 of the issues in which we cannot mix a sahir for a prophet, or a prophet for a sahir. So these are general principles in which we can be guided that we need prophethood and we must have a prophet. We need revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Allah the Exalted will not leave us without guidance. In fact, if we are left without guidance and we die, this entails that we can run our life in any devilish or satanic way we wish. Why? Because we should not. It's not fair for us to be punished or to be held accountable for such satanic lifestyle. Why? For those, I mean, in the case of those who claim that we have no revelation, no prophets, that Allah had created us and abandoned us, therefore, no revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This entails that we live our life in any satanic way we wish. Why? Once we die, it's not fair for Allah to come and punish us because He did not send guidance to us, how we should behave, what's right and what's wrong. That was not sent to us whatsoever. So to hold us accountable for a matter in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not teach us or convey to us, it's not fair. It's against Allah's hikmah, Allah's adl, Allah's rahmah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who claim that we are here in this life, Allah created us and left us, we say this is not better as a claim than those who deny Allah's existence. Because both of you claim that we can live our life in any devilish way we wish. At the end, it will be survival of the fittest. It's your interest and hell with everyone else. This is going to be the case. That's why revelation is a must. To understand why are we here, what this creator wants from us, and what awaits us after death, and are we ready for it or not. For those who come and deny revelation and prophets being sent through mankind, to all mankind, they are putting themselves in a position which is a lot similar to the position of the atheists. That you run your life in the most evil way you wish, there is no hisab at the end. Why? Because if Allah is going to do hisab to us, reckoning, then this is not fair. Because He did not give us any guidance in which we can stick to. I mean, imagine today, here in Jeddah, there was no traffic light laws. And you go and you cross a red light traffic. And then all of a sudden, a police officer stops you and he says, pay 3,000 riyals as a fine for crossing a red light. Nobody told me that a red light is a violation, crossing a red light. You never mentioned this in your law. So from where did you come up with this law? He said, no, khalas, I decided now to punish you for something which I did not warn you against. So imagine the entire city have no law in this matter. And then someone comes and decides to punish you for any behavior. He decides. And Allah is the وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it fair for Allah to come when He does not give us any guidance to go and hold us accountable for any behavior? Certainly it's not. And Allah is the all merciful, the all adl, the all wise subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, it defies Allah's adl, Allah's hikmah, Allah's ilm, Allah's rahmah to come and claim that we live without revelation. We can live without guidance from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let us be aware of that, inshallah. Inshallah, coming class, we'll speak in details about the headlines of the major proofs that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a true prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'll mention some of the examples, individual examples, to support those headers of proofs, inshallah ta'ala. If you have any questions so far, Ikhwa.
This income is that there's 4-point means of Allah's qudra through which we can prove the prophethood. So if a person knowing this, he can say that why Allah is sending prophet, He is all able, why is God inspiring each one of us to our heart instead of sending book and
Ahsan. So there are two ways in which we can know what Allah wants subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first way is what you have mentioned. The second way is that He subhanahu wa ta'ala appoints someone to convey to all mankind what Allah wants from him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instills in us what He wants from us, then all of us will be good. There is no need for trial, right? will not be trial, because خلاص, everyone almost a prophet, and everyone will behave like a prophet. Therefore, the issue of الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم حسنة will not happen, will not take place. But Allah has chosen that He subhanahu wa ta'ala, the only mean in which we know what He wants is through prophet, through revelation to a specific prophet. A third way, maybe claimed by some of the philosophers, they say an-nubuwah, like some of the Sufis and some of the philosophers, they say it is acquired through some rituals we go through, like the Sufis and so on. If we go through these rituals, we can reach the level of the prophets. And like al-awliya, even they give the awliya a position which is higher than the prophet sometimes. Some of the extremists from the Sufiya. So they say it is us who can know what Allah wants from us. If we sit in a specific way, go through some rituals, we can know what Allah wants from us, as if revelation comes to them. And of course, this is a false claim, because everyone can say this and can come up with anything he wishes, because at the end there is no true revelation coming to him, right? So the only mean in which we know, and Allah has decided and chosen for us to know revelation, is through a specific man sent to mankind to convey Allah's message to them. So this is what Allah has chosen. And like I said, if it's going to be everyone, Allah is conveying to every one of us what He wants, as if every one of us becomes a prophet. Therefore, the issue of trial will not be there. Hence, to make this like a life of trial, a life of test for mankind, Allah has chosen this mean that this life is a life of test. The life that many people are asking for, in which there is no evil whatsoever, this is in al-akhirah, yawm al-qiyamah. It's not in this life. But right now, what you need to understand, Allah had sent prophets, and this is the proof that they are true prophets from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we can never confuse a prophet to a liar whatsoever. Therefore, we should accept whatever comes through this man, given that these are the evidences that support his prophethood. This being said, we need to make sure that many people around us understand the issue of prophethood. In fact, the issue of prophethood and the proofs for that can be used as a proof for Allah's existence. You can use, if you prove to anyone that this is a true man, he cannot be a liar, and he accepts that that man is a true man. If he accepts him that he's a true man, that man says, I am a Nabi, I am a prophet. You should accept his claim that he's a prophet, meaning that Allah sent him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So still we can use even some of the evidences that of prophethood and argumentations to prove Allah's existence, subhanahu wa ta'ala.
We will be going in detail, right, about further details of the proofs of the prophethood, right?
Yes, coming classes, inshallah ta'ala. We'll go over some classes, some sessions. In every session, we'll speak about one of those proofs in details, inshallah ta'ala. But those are the principles. Like we mentioned the principles for Allah's existence, here we are mentioning the principles of prophethood, in which prophethood is a necessity. It is possible. It is important. And how can we be guided to? What are the inferences that we are using to be guided to prophethood, and so on? Okay. Any more questions? Yeah. That's it. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullah khairan.